Hey guys, welcome back to the Readers. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is Pro Revenge Story. I work at a small company that primarily operates in e-commerce as a jack of all trades. One of my roles includes overseeing various advertising budgets across multiple platforms. While I manage these passively on a daily basis, I conduct intensive monthly reviews of each platform to identify areas for improvement. This data, combined with sales figures, informs another aspect of my job, breaking down unit sales to give my boss, Derek, a clearer picture when placing reorders. Since we're a company with only a handful of people, most with specialized roles, we operate as a team in an environment where everyone is responsible for their own time. If something falls behind, it's immediately obvious who's at fault. In my advertising and analytics work, the situation is somewhat less transparent since there are natural ups and downs throughout the weeks, and some fulfillment is handled through third parties. Think FBA on Amazon. My coworker Ryan, who works in logistics, is, without a doubt, a solid gold twat. He often drinks when starting his shift, typically a 40 or a tall boy or two, which occasionally causes orders to be misplaced, incorrect, or sent to the wrong address. As an added bonus, sometimes the warehouse carries the faint aroma of stale beer. On top of this, he's entitled and confrontational because he believes he's the only one doing a real man's job, i.e. not primarily computer-based, and resents my flexible schedule where I can arrive and leave as I please as long as the work gets done. "Must be nice sitting in your air-conditioned office while I bust my ass out here," he'd mutter whenever I'd walk through the warehouse. Because of this delightful combination of factors, we go through phases where I barely interact with him at all for months at a time. He's kept around because it's difficult to find someone familiar with our specific logistics platforms who can take over immediately. If Ryan left, I would need to shift my job duties almost entirely to shipping just to keep up with demand. Still, with the workload and the fact that a significant portion is third-party fulfilled, he enjoyed a decent amount of downtime. There were days when hour-long phone calls, 2-hour lunches, or half-day shifts weren't uncommon for him. In March of this year, we had a semi-trailer full of product arrive that I helped him unload along with the rest of the team. Extra hands were welcome, but not absolutely necessary. I came in that day not in the greatest mood. During the unloading, Ryan chided me for being slow and told me to pick up the pace. "Put your back into it, bro," he sneered. "What's the matter, keyboard warrior can't handle real work?" After years of snide comments like this and being thoroughly fed up with his nonsense, I wasn't having it today. "Sorry, dude, I haven't had my morning beers to give me that extra pep in my step," I replied. His face turned red instantly. "The duck you just say? You want to duck and go, bro?" "Duck off, keep your comments to yourself or you can unload the trailer alone," I shot back. "You're a disrespectful crap," he spat. "What the duck do you even do here all day locked up in your office, lazy mother ducker? Lazy? Oh boy." At this point, Derek told us both to STFU and get back to work. I put on my headphones and quietly completed the rest of the unload without incident, but as I mulled over the exchange, I decided that this slight against me would be repaid in full. A few days later, I felt it was time for a response and decided to move up my advertising review process. As part of these duties, I can move substantial amounts of money around. After a thorough review, I concluded that we were spending a bit too much on third-party fulfillment. Perhaps I could even generate a few $100 extra in sales and savings by moving more orders in-house. What about that new module I was working on to drive sales to our website instead of other channels? Let's double the budget and finish it a few weeks ahead of schedule. And, out of curiosity, I decided to reallocate a few $100 from an adequate but middling campaign that used third-party fulfillment toward a different platform that would require in-house package fulfillment. "Hey, Derek, I'm going to experiment with the ad budgets more than usual," I explained during our weekly meeting. "I think I might be able to drive some additional business, but I wanted to warn you it might result in some losses or additional spend to get the data I need." "How much are we talking?" Derek asked, leaning back in his chair. "Nothing crazy, maybe shifting 5 to 8% of our current allocation to test some new channels," I replied. "Your track record speaks for itself," he nodded. "Just keep me in the loop." Over the next few weeks, this money was gradually shifted to ramp up the experiment. Initially, it resulted in about 8 extra orders a day on top of our typical 70 or 80. A small profit margin materialized as some of these were new orders, while others simply moved from third-party fulfillment to in-house. Fast forward to August 2025, and the changes I've implemented have been fully realized. There are now, on average, an additional 40 to 60 orders that Ryan has to manually fulfill by himself due to the shift in advertising budgets. Moreover, this has resulted in a not insignificant amount of money in both savings and profit due to the orders being fulfilled in-house. Derek is pleased and has indicated that a raise might be forthcoming. "These numbers are looking fantastic," Derek said during our last review. "Whatever you did with that reallocation is really paying off. Let's discuss compensation adjustments at your next quarterly review. Since the raise is currently unrealized, I'm enjoying my revenge in the meantime. That downtime Ryan previously enjoyed? It's completely gone now. One of the few metrics he has to deal with is getting orders out on time, or it affects his pay. As a result, beer time has all but disappeared because there simply isn't enough time in the day, and he now averages a 30-minute lunch break instead of his customary hour. Half-days are now a thing of the past. Last week, I overheard him complaining to Melissa, our customer service rep. "I don't get it," Ryan groaned. "The work just doesn't stop anymore. It's like someone turned on a fire hose of orders." "That's a good thing, though, right?" Melissa replied. "More business means job security." "Yeah, but at what cost? I haven't had a proper lunch break in weeks." Far be it from me to gloat. I haven't said a word. I'll let the extra work speak for itself. Yesterday, Ryan passed me in the hallway, looking exhausted. "Man, we must be doing something right with all these orders coming in," he muttered. I just smiled and nodded. "Just doing my job. Don't call me lazy." The next one is an entitled people story. I've been cycling for most of my adult life. It's how I get to work, how I exercise, and honestly, it's the one thing that keeps me sane after a rough day. I live in a suburban area with decent bike lanes on most major roads, and I always follow traffic laws. Helmet on, lights at night, hand signals for turns, the works. About 6 months ago, I was on my regular commute home from work. It was around 5:30 p.m., still plenty of light outside, and traffic was moderate. I was in the bike lane, keeping a steady pace, when I approached an intersection where I had the right of way. I checked for cars as I always do, saw none turning, and continued straight. Out of nowhere, a white SUV came barreling through the intersection, making a right turn without stopping or signaling. I had no time to react. 1 second I was upright, the next I was sprawled across the pavement with my bike mangled beside me. The impact wasn't direct. She clipped my back wheel, which sent me flying. I remember the horrible screeching sound of metal dragging on asphalt and the sickening crack as my helmet hit the ground. Thank God I was wearing it. As I lay there trying to figure out if I could move, I heard car doors slam and angry footsteps approaching. I expected concern, maybe even panic, but what I got was something else entirely. "What the hell is wrong with you?" a woman's voice shouted. "Why would you ride in front of my car like that?" I managed to roll over and look up. Standing over me was a woman in her 40s, designer sunglasses pushed up on her highlighted blonde hair, face twisted with anger instead of concern. Behind her, a teenage girl stood looking mortified. "Mom, you hit him," the girl said quietly. "He rode in front of me, Kaylee," the woman snapped. "Did you see him? He came out of nowhere." I tried to sit up and felt a sharp pain shoot through my shoulder. "Ma'am, I was in the bike lane. You turned right into me without looking." Her face turned even redder. "There shouldn't even be bike lanes. They just encourage people like you to get in the way of normal traffic." By now, a small crowd had gathered. A couple of people were on their phones, calling 911, I hoped. An older man helped me to a sitting position, careful of my injuries. "I saw the whole thing," he told me quietly. "You had the right of way. She didn't even slow down for the turn." The woman, who I'd later come to know as Karen Thompson, overheard him and marched over. "Excuse me? Are you saying this is my fault? Do you know who my husband is? He's on the city council and he'll have something to say about this." The man looked unimpressed. "Lady, I don't care if your husband is the president. I saw what happened, and so did that traffic camera." He pointed up at the intersection. Karen's face went through a series of expressions: anger, surprise, then something calculating. She quickly changed tactics. "I'm just so shaken up," she said, her voice suddenly trembling. "I didn't see him, and he was going so fast. These cyclists never follow the rules." The paramedics arrived shortly after, followed by police. As they loaded me into the ambulance, I heard Karen telling the officers her version of events, that I had swerved into her lane, that I was speeding, that I wasn't using proper signals. Her daughter stood behind her, looking increasingly uncomfortable. At the hospital, I was diagnosed with a dislocated shoulder, a concussion, road rash along my right side, and a fractured wrist. My bike, which I'd saved for months to buy, was totaled. The medical bills started piling up immediately, and I had to take 2 weeks off work to recover. 3 days after the accident, still heavily medicated and with my arm in a sling, I got a call from Karen's insurance company. They informed me that their client was denying all responsibility for the accident and claiming that I had violated traffic laws. I was stunned. "That's not what happened at all. There were witnesses. There's a traffic camera." The adjuster sounded bored. Ma'am has provided statements from 2 witnesses supporting her version of events. We'll need to conduct a full investigation before determining liability. After hanging up, I sat in disbelief. 2 witnesses? Who could possibly have backed up her ridiculous story? I later found out she had her husband and a family friend sign statements saying they saw the whole thing, despite neither being anywhere near the accident when it happened. I knew I needed legal help, so I contacted a personal injury attorney who specialized in cycling accidents. When I told him who had hit me, he actually smiled. Karen Thompson? The council member's wife? He shook his head. This isn't her first rodeo. She has a history of traffic incidents that mysteriously disappear. He took my case on contingency, and we immediately requested the traffic camera footage. We also tracked down 3 witnesses who had given their contact information to the police, including the older man who had helped me, but Karen wasn't going down without a fight. Somehow, when we went to get the camera footage, the police department informed us that there had been a technical issue, and the footage from that day was unavailable. My lawyer was suspicious, but not deterred. Good thing people have phones these days, he said with a grin. He put out a call on local social media groups asking if anyone had recorded the accident. Within 2 days, we had gold. A delivery driver's dash cam had captured the entire incident in perfect clarity. It showed me in the bike lane, her SUV making the turn without slowing down or signaling, and the collision. But our troubles weren't over. The day after we notified her insurance company about the dash cam footage, I received a letter from a law firm representing Karen personally. They were threatening to sue me for damages to her vehicle and for emotional distress caused to her daughter who had witnessed the reckless cyclist collide with their car. This is intimidation, my lawyer explained. She's hoping you'll back down rather than deal with a countersuit. I was angry now, not just about my injuries or my bike, but about the principle. This woman had nearly killed me through her negligence, and instead of taking responsibility, she was trying to bully me into submission. I'm not backing down, I told my lawyer. Not even a little bit. We proceeded with the lawsuit, and things got uglier. Karen started a campaign of harassment, which included driving slowly past my house and taking photos, leaving negative reviews for the bicycle shop where I worked part-time, and even approaching my neighbors to warn them about the dangerous cyclist living nearby. What she didn't know was that my next-door neighbor was a retired judge who did not appreciate her tactics. He documented every interaction and provided statements for our case. The turning point came when Karen's daughter Kaylee, fed up with her mother's behavior, came forward. At 17, she was old enough to make her own statement, and she contacted my lawyer to tell the truth. My mom wasn't paying attention, her written statement said. She was yelling at me about my grades and looking at me, not the road. When she hit the cyclist, she told me to say he swerved into our lane if anyone asked. I'm sorry for not speaking up sooner. With the dashcam footage, multiple witness statements, and now Kaylee's testimony, Karen's insurance company suddenly became very interested in settling. They offered $50,000 for my medical bills, lost wages, and pain and suffering. My lawyer told them to try again. My client has permanent soft tissue damage. His ability to enjoy his primary hobby and mode of transportation has been compromised. And your insured attempted to commit insurance fraud and witness tampering. We're going to need 6 figures or we're taking this to court. The insurance company settled for $175,000. Karen was furious when she found out, showing up at my lawyer's office screaming about how I was scamming her and ruining her family. The receptionist called security, and the entire incident was captured on the office's security cameras. But the story doesn't end there. The police, who had initially seemed reluctant to pursue charges, received an anonymous package containing evidence of Karen's previous traffic incidents that had been handled through her husband's connections. There was also evidence suggesting the traffic camera footage had been deliberately erased after a phone call from the councilman. The local newspaper got wind of the story and ran an expose on the councilman's abuse of power. He was forced to resign, and Karen faced charges for insurance fraud, filing a false police report, and witness intimidation. Last month, she pleaded guilty to reduced charges in exchange for community service, probation, and, most satisfyingly, 100 hours of work with a bicycle safety advocacy group. Her driver's license was also suspended for a year. I used part of the settlement money to buy a new, even better bike and donated a portion to a local organization that advocates for safer streets for cyclists and pedestrians. I also installed a camera on my helmet, just in case. The rest of the money went into a fund for a down payment on a house, in a neighborhood far away from Karen Thompson. I still see her sometimes, being driven around by her daughter. She always glares at me, but I just ring my bike bell and keep pedaling. As for her husband, last I heard, he was working as a consultant for a parking garage company. Seems fitting somehow. The next one is a malicious compliance story. I used to work as a researcher in an inbound call center. I loved the work, and the company was fantastic when I started. But after 4 years, they got bought out by a big international corp. A pretty standard hack and slash corp equal sign buy up a profitable company, strip it of all assets, cut costs slash quality, make good money until our well-deserved fantastic reputation is destroyed, then sell off and move on. Within weeks, the company went from being fantastic to work for to just yet another crappy, tense work environment where the bosses take advantage of the employees. One quick example of how badly they nerfed the bonus structure. One particular bonus went from being able to earn up to $1,000 extra in 3 days to a single $50 Boston Pizza gift card. Previously, all employees got paid varying bonuses under this scheme, but in the new system, only one person gets the gift card. And they had the nerve to get mad at us when the new slap-in-the-face bonus failed to motivate anyone. I was good at my job, and not to brag, but I was the most productive employee on the floor. We were given 15 PTO, paid time off days to use every year, which according to our employment contracts and company handbook were to be used for sick days, mental health days, and other personal reasons. No explanation was ever asked for. Use them as and when you will. I always made sure to use up all my PTO by the end of the year as it didn't bank. Previous management encouraged us to do so, and also there was no bonus for not using it. I followed the company rules, always gave plenty of notice, and only once left the team dangling with no notice, as I got seriously ill that time. The new management takes over, and right away they start trying to intimidate us into not taking PTO. I hear a lot of this from my fellow employees, how when they call in, the supervisors have started grilling them, challenging them, saying they don't sound sick, etc. A lot of intimidation and bullying. So by the time I need to use a PTO day, I'm ready. I call in one day and tell them I won't be in tomorrow. They want to know why. So I tell them I'm not feeling well. Their voice grows immediately cold and they get a rude tone. You don't sound sick to me. Being a smartass, I said, not even doctors try to diagnose illnesses over the phone, but they kept trying to push me. Can you come in the afternoon? You don't sound sick. You've been using a lot of sick days, way more than other employees. I got tired of being treated like a criminal for obeying the rules, so I got a recording app for my phone. I live in a one-party consent area, so it's perfectly legal to record phone calls. Next time I felt sick, I called into work. Now they always began every call with a disclaimer. Thank you for calling CXX. For your information, this call may be monitored or recorded for quality purposes. I say hello, give them my name, and say BTW, just so you know on my end, this call may be monitored or recorded for quality purposes. Because I am recording the call, and I think it's only fair to let them know. The supervisor gives a perfunctory laugh, then says, "So why are you calling in sick? You don't sound sick to me. I'll put you down as sick for the morning, but you'll be in for the afternoon." I inform them that no, I am calling in for at least 1 day and will update if I don't feel better. She says, "No, I'll put you down for half a day. You can call in again if you don't feel better." Once again, I say no, restate my position, and tell them that is that. She gets really pissy and starts insinuating that this might cause me to lose my job. Why do you take so much more PTO than the other employees? I take what my employment contract says I am entitled to. No more, no less. Well, you should have a better team spirit. We'll have to review this with HR. Threatening tone, classical bullying playbook. I'm off the next day. Come in for my following shift. Go see HR. I sit down at Art's desk in HR. He's very much a corporate HR lapdog. He starts going on about how they're going to have to review my employment contract and consider whether or not going forward I am a good fit at TexX Corp. Now, in case I seem too calm in this scenario, bear in mind that while I do prefer to remain at XX for the time being, I do not care if they want to fire me. I'm very good at my job. I have had several job offers from competing companies, so the threat of being fired does not faze me. While Art is berating me, I take out my phone and start playing the recording I made when calling in sick. Art stops, starts to get annoyed, then realizing he's listening to a recording of an employee verbally berating and intimidating a worker for exercising their contractual legal rights. He excuses himself and is gone for about 10 minutes, before returning, visibly angry but restrained. He tried to dress me down, scare me, intimidate me into thinking I had violated the law with an illegal recording. I told that, working as I did as a professional researcher, I had, to no surprise, done my research, and single-party consent is all that was required. He shifted gears, starting saying the recording didn't count because the supervisor thought I was joking. I wasn't. But she thought you were, and she was wrong, so it doesn't really matter what she thought, Art. I told her the truth, she made a mistake, and recording my own phone conversations is 100% legal and admissible. Art leaves and returns a few minutes later, ever more red-faced. You can go back to your desk. I did as instructed, and that was all I ever heard again about using my PTO. Whenever I called in from then on, they were always very precise and professional. Their tone was as cold as politicians promise, but that was a lot better than the bullying from before. The next one is an entitled people story. I had a friend I supported through everything. She vented constantly about her boyfriend and then her ex-boyfriend when they broke up. I was always there, even when I was emotionally drained. I listened to her every day and gave her so much of myself, even when she would only talk about the same thing every single day. But when I tried to talk, she would barely look up. She would just say, "Minshun," clearly never paying attention. I was always there for her, but she was never there for me. One day she went on a Tinder date and asked me to come with her to a cafe so she would feel safe. I told her clearly that I could only stay for 20-30 minutes because I had a trip the next morning. She said that was fine. I left when I said I would. She then ended up drinking with him and ended up going back to his house. Later she told me that the guy assaulted her and said it was my fault. She blamed me for leaving the cafe and said it was my fault that she got assaulted. There was a bus stop right outside the cafe, and she was also telling me how she hopes he has a car so that they can go on a car drive, so how is she even blaming me for leaving? She told me that I should have seen that he was a catfish when he wasn't at all. She was just upset he was shorter than 6 feet. Not long after, I went on my trip. Something happened to me that I still do not fully understand. I blacked out after drinking and woke up sore and terrified with no memory of what happened. I was completely dissociated. When I told her, she said it was karma, that I deserved it for not staying with her at the cafe. She also constantly blamed me for her emotional state. She told me I reminded her of her trauma whenever I talked about a guy that I was dating, even though she would still constantly talk about her ex or some other guys she met on dating apps. She told me she self-harms whenever I talk about my dating life. I have only dated one person, so I'm new to dating. She said I made everything about myself when really I barely shared anything. I was always carrying her pain while mine was ignored. When I started seeing someone and got physically close to him, she called me disgusting and said I was participating in hookup culture. But just weeks later, she went on a trip and kissed 6 random guys and got into a stranger's car in the middle of the night. I never judged her for any of that, yet she judged me for being with someone I actually cared about. She also used me financially. When her phone got stolen on one of our trips, I paid for everything. Food, transport, and basic needs. I was in credit card debt and still helped her. She never thanked me. She owes me hundreds, yet never paid me back. Never even brought it up again. The worst thing is that I planned on going on that trip solo, but she joined me last minute. Also, she would always ask to borrow my stuff, cleaning products, Tide Pods, hair shampoo, etc., simply so that she wouldn't have to buy it. She also refuses to give me stuff back, like she has my glass container, perfume, earrings, necklace, and well of the money she owes me. She would also always bring me down, whether it was my physical appearance or my academic achievements. Anytime I would get a compliment, she would make it seem like they were just being nice, and she would always subtly judge and bring me and others down. She blocked me eventually. Then she told people at school that I was not a good friend. But I know she only told her version of the story. She made herself the victim in everything, and the only reason I put up with a lot was because I know she was going through a lot, but so was I, and I would have never treated someone like that. I know no one deserves what happened to her, but I do not think I deserve to be blamed for it. I do not think I deserve to be made to feel like my own pain was earned. I just feel confused and used. I keep wondering if I did something wrong, but I also know deep down I was a good friend. I just want to understand why she treated me like that. The next one is an entitled parent story. He works, comes home, and goes, "OP, can you take care of the kids till they go to bed?" It's not a request, though, and he does this after making it required that I look after them for 50% of the time he is at work. I guess I can understand that, given my mom's circumstances. But even after work, he doesn't even want them in the same vicinity as him on account of them being annoying. So both toddlers are sent to trash my room. He can't parent and doesn't seem to have an interest in doing anything above role-playing as one when he is in a good mood. And even then, it doesn't last long. He runs the household in the same way he would manage people at his job, which just doesn't work well at all. I can't remember the last time this guy even cooked them a meal. And he sure as hell hasn't given them a bath in months. He doesn't even clean at all, not even after himself. Things like that fall on me and my mother. You'd think he genuinely hates them from how he talks to them sometimes. He just went out and one of them wanted to go on a walk with him. His response to his 3-year-old child was, "You're not going anywhere. I'm just trying to get the F***CK away from you. Leave me alone." Soon enough, these kids are going to learn how to resent him. All he does is remind them of how big of a burden they are. The kicker? He has a 3rd kid on the way. He is so happy because it's going to be a girl, and so she'll be easy, meaning that she will be quiet, eat at the table, and generally well-mannered. Which just doesn't seem likely considering she will have two older, annoying brothers influencing her at every turn. I was seriously upset that the baby was a girl, because I quite frankly don't think this guy deserves to get what he wants. To add to the craziness, he is also talking about having another kid after my mom gives birth. It's just insane how he thinks, and how little awareness he has. And before you ask if his job is stressful, we just moved to Europe and he is working a regular 9-to-5 job. All he talks about is how work is so lenient here, how he was immediately respected, and his most recent brag is about how he went on a 3-hour lunch break. As much as I am complaining, I guess I should thank my mom. Her continuously getting into relationships like this has taught me to never settle, as much as she says she isn't, which just makes it sadder. Anyway, thank you for watching.